we are going to hop right into today's topic, money mindset. And really, it's all about the mindset that we have related to our money. And there are lots of different types of mindsets. And really, our goal is going to be to just help give you some really practical tips and to talk about this in a real way, how the way that we think about our money can impact how we spend it, how we save, how we think about it. And I think it's really important that we have this conversation, especially as we talk around things like inflation. So things beginning to get more expensive. Around things like, okay, so what if there was a time that we didn't have access to credit or to, and so just to talk about some of these things, I like laying that foundation so that we're not surprised, so that we're not caught off guard if a crisis does come.
Wow, what a great platform to start us off in. So this is the deal. And I do a lot of things with the mind as it relates to money, the mindset as it relates to money, the psychology of money, because money is really not the issue. It's the way we think about the money. That's really the foundational issue that we have as keeping it, getting it, and especially keeping it. Because a lot of times we get money, it comes in, it flows in, but as soon as it comes in, it leaks out. And when I say leaks out, I'm saying we are more consumers than we are producers of wealth. Now, during this, I did a lot of research because I like right. I like thinking about money. I like it, and so the reason I say I like money, and people be like, I don't know if I like money. Money is dirty. No, no, no. If you have that kind of mindset toward it, it flees from you. It's like not liking something. So when it comes towards you, it immediately repels. It repels. So having the mindset that money is not my enemy, because money is not, and I talk about this, money is not emotional. Money does exactly what the person who has the money, does with it. You can take the same $100 and do something great, or do something that's not so great. It's not the money, it's the way we use it, it's our mindset toward it. And I'm gonna go hand it back to Patrice for a second.
Perfect. Because the thing that came up for me is it's also what we were taught about it and what we saw. So I've worked with people that really struggled in childhood. And even though they attained success in adulthood, still felt like no amount of money was ever enough to help them feel secure. Because that early time of not having enough, and there are times where I think people might not reach out for support. And because there was a time when I didn't have enough. My expenses were higher than what was coming in. And so what I did was I didn't have internet, I didn't have cable. I made sure I was going to food banks, and I could have asked family for help and support, but like my basic needs, I had housing, I had some type of food, and but just being able to reach out for help and support if and when you need it, because I think sometimes there can be a lot of shame
Mm.
attached to when things aren't working out or when people are struggling, and then being careful when large sums of money come in. So with things like the stimulus check, tax refunds, things like that, where a large portion of that, if I have outstanding bills, and when I say outstanding bills, I'm talking, so if I'm behind on anything, I definitely want to get caught up on those things. If I have credit cards, because credit cards normally have a high interest rate, and then I was talking with people recently, and they talked about getting a car loan and refinancing their car loan, because one loan was like 20% interest, and being able to refinance for a much like four or or 5%, and actually being able to get like a second vehicle and for the price of what they were paying for that one. And so I think being able to just step back and realize that sometimes some of my attitude towards money might come from my history as well.
Wow. There is so much to unpackage in that. Okay. So, first of all, I'm really proud of her because she has learned well. Okay. But not only that, she has become and is, and this is a great key for everybody, to be a person who looks at what you have from what you have instead of from the position of lack, is saying, what can I use? How can I use what's in my hand? And I'm gonna take it another level. Is that she talked about somebody refinancing their car loan. Historically, cars are not as valuable, um, resale value, as they are right now. So used cars right now have a high, listen to me, high retention rate on what their value is. So if you have a really high loan and you have been working on your credit, or your credit score is better now, then you can probably refinance for a lesser amount. So I'm going to take what she said and do something just to talk about it. So when you're looking at your income and your outgo, and this is an opportunity, let's say you save $200 or $300 a month. $200 or $300 a month. Most people jumping up and down and they're thinking about another way to let that money go. What I'm saying is, consider this. If you've been working with one car all this time and you've been working it out, but you have other debt that is at a higher interest rate, you might want to continue to take that excess that you have now, take a portion of it, listen to me, a portion of it, and put against an outstanding debt to pay down your debt. Anytime you pay down your debt, you increase your bottom line, your net worth. Okay, so all net worth is when you talk about all the assets you have, not your presumed value, but the value, and then you subtract the liabilities, how much you still owe. The balance is your net worth. It's not your personal worth, it is what your net worth is on paper. And you want it to be positive, right? So she said something, and so I want to tap into a couple things Patrice said. One was, sometimes we look at things and we say, this is what they don't have. She kind of alluded to that. Or when you look at things, you look at, I'm not able to do this. I'm not able to do that. However, there's a lot of people that are attempting, and this is a phrase that a lot of people use, keeping up with the Joneses.
Mhm.
The issue with that is two things. Number one, you can't work out of the Jones financial well-being or lack thereof. Number one, because you don't know what it costs them to be them. Number two is, you find out what success or what you desire in your household, and you define that. So you take control of it, right? And then you decide how you want to build your wealth journey. It's a journey. So now, if you take a portion of everything that comes in and you set a piece of it aside, it is critical, because what it does to your brain, let's talk about it from that perspective. What it does to your brain is it tricks your brain like, wait a minute, what do you mean we're going to put this in savings account? Because your brain goes from lack, from a mindset of not enough, to say, oh no, I'm putting this in savings. What you mean savings? Inner person says, what you mean savings? Wait a minute, we need that money. We need to go to whatever store. We need to do this. Nope, we're gonna put it against savings. So as you see small increases, that's what matters. Patrice shared something, and I hope I think it's gonna add, is that she showed this TikTok video that I think it's Grego did. And what the guy was talking about is, he said he got a check for $1 million, but when he spent $1, he was no longer a millionaire, right? But, and I laughed, but it is so true. But this is the thing. The thing is, when you get a lump sum of money in, you're about to get your return on your taxes. Make a plan now for what you're going to do. Because when the money hits the bank, somehow we get happy thoughts and we do something that may not be in our long term best interest. Go ahead.
And I like to look at it as a choice. So instead of saying, I can't afford this or I can't do this, I can instead look at it like I'm choosing this.
Mm,
So when I decided my income and debt, what my income was low, my debt was high, and I was able to go to the public library. Like that's what I did. I went to the library to use the internet. I was actually studying for my licensure exam, and so not having a lot of that noise helped me focus on work and what I needed to do, but looking at it as a choice and not something that's being taken from you. Now, if we're talking about basic necessities like housing and food, now that is different than me looking at like things like Netflix or something that I like but that I don't necessarily need. And so that's where if we're talking about those necessities, there is a website called findhelp.org where it'll list all your local food banks, and because there are places that help out with electricity and all these things, but looking at those, if you can, looking at those as temporary solutions, and then while you're working on getting a job that is able to pay at a higher rate to meet whatever needs you have.
okay, so I'm going to go back to starting where you are. Some of us have a closet, hear me, a closet full of things that it would take a lot of work, maybe to, or it's going to be out of style or whatever. We have all this excess, right? So look at what you have in your hand. It may be a gift or talent that you have. So I'm not saying go out and start a business, because you don't necessarily have to start. You can be a sole proprietor, right? So there's a lot of other ways to do that. But what I'm gonna tell you is that in so many cases we have stuff in our hand that we can do. Like some people are great cooks. They cook stuff and they give it away, but they never thought about cooking it and maybe presenting it to somebody to sell as a service, right? Because you know other people that may not be able to cook right now, but you love cooking. So what if they would purchase, and hear me, that they would say, okay, Johnnie, what I'm gonna do is, I know you're not cooking and you want your family to eat better. So what I'm gonna do is, you buy all the, listen to me, you buy all the groceries. I'm gonna do the cooking and I'm gonna give you the list. And when you're cooking, you'll cook enough for your family and theirs. So now your bill has went down because you're not charging the person, or you charge them, whichever way that works better for you, right? You charge them so you have this extra. I would do it that way. You charge them so you have this additional
But then
resources
if I
coming
was
in.
charging them, I would make sure, because I want to make sure that people know, I would make sure that they were aware that I was using some of the groceries
If
for,
I was
yeah,
doing that,
yeah.
right,
If you're,
right.
because typically if I was going to use some of the groceries, I don't know if I would charge them.
Well, that's
I
what I
don't
was
know,
saying
but yeah.
initially. What I was saying initially is that, let's say, and we kind of did some of that
Mhm.
when I was keeping my grandson. They were paying for organic food because I wasn't eating organic then. I didn't see the need. You know what I'm saying? But they wanted him to have 100% organic. So I said, it's not a problem. If
Just
that's what you
bring it.
want, you need to bring it. And then it got, I mean, because both of them are actively working. And I said, well, I can go pick it up. And they said, well, they'll cover it. But I got the benefit of it. It wasn't like she didn't know I was eating an apple, whatever. But my point for saying that is, and then there was one time when I was literally doing a couple meals, but I
Oh,
love to cook. And so it helped them. So look at it from the perspective of, what do you have in your hand that you can do? You may love to do, I don't know, whatever, painting, tapestry, whatever. Find out what you have and see if there's a need. And if there's a need, think about how you bring those resources in. Because having more than one stream of income, I don't care how well you're doing right now, but having more than one stream of income is not just a smart thing to do. It is the best thing to do, because when one stream kind of dries up or something impacts it in an adverse way, you have another stream, so you're not starting from scratch. Does that make sense? So that is the key. The key is taking the way you have a better money mindset is you start using self-control,
Mm.
self-awareness, and then you become a producer of wealth.
So let's talk first about self control, because I think as we talk about a money mindset, we also have to talk about sometimes there is a such thing as emotional spending. So when I go on Amazon and I order something and it magically shows up at my house, sometimes hours later, sometimes a few days later, like there's some serotonin, like there's some dopamine, there's some adrenaline, there are some happy thoughts that are released with that process. And then also for me, and so I think it's knowing how your emotions and your money go together. So when I get anxious or I'm frustrated, like, so when my son was having difficulty sleeping at night, I would go like that was, and somebody warned me, don't go on Amazon late at night when your child isn't sleeping because you will buy anything. There are lots of things that promise that it will help your child sleep, but everything won't necessarily work. And so I kept myself within a certain budget, and so being able to and I like making wish lists. So, or sometimes I'll add something to the cart and then I'll think about it. So I'll add it to the cart and then be like, because maybe I want it now. So right now I'm like, oh my gosh, this would be amazing. But I'll add it to my cart, come back later, and then see, okay, is this really what I want right now? And so having some of that self control, impulsive spending,
Mm,
especially with ADHD. On TikTok, a lot of people talk about how spending and certain impulsive eating, like there are some things that can go along with particular diagnoses. Sometimes when people are really depressed or really anxious, spending money can make you feel a little bit better. But once again, that's not a long-term strategy because it'll work for the short term until that credit card bill comes,
I'm
or
just saying.
until I realize, oh my gosh, I spent that much money last month. Oh wow. And so being able to talk about those things with your therapist, being able to be mindful. So I know there was a time when I had to disconnect my credit card from the account because it was so easy to just go in, add to cart. They have a buy now button. Like it was just way too easy to spend money. And then also with going out to eat. So I love so I use some apps where you can pre-order and then when you arrive everything is done. But it was starting to add up. And so I like how the second thing you said was self-awareness, because being aware of where is your money actually going. And there are lots of free tools. Sometimes banks offer a
Yes.
budgeting tool, and then Khan Academy, or sometimes there are certain places that offer financial literacy, because not everybody was raised by an accountant and had a credit card at 17 years old. Like not everybody had my situation where I was aware of money very early, and that does also lead to the point of making sure to pass these lessons on to your children.
Yes. And that's the key. The key is okay, so they have this, and this is not for or against. I'm going to use that as a caveat. It's not for or against what this is. It's just be mindful of the mindset it can have in your children. Right now, you can get a debit card for your child and you can upload money to it. Now, the key with that is when children are taught that money magically appears, then they can have the mindset of entitlement. However, if you link it to actions, whether it be cleaning, chores, I don't know, whatever you link it
Some people do
to,
grades.
grades, whatever that is, when you link it to something where, and it's not just about performance, it's deeper than that. It's an exchange because that's what money really is. Money is an exchange. That's all it is. Don't make it deeper than it is, and let them become money conscious. So not just debit card conscious. Let them be dollar conscious, because this is a $1 million tip. How do you become a millionaire? $1 at a time. How do you become whatever? $1 at a time. How do you get in debt? $1 at a time. Now it costs you $99, but it's still $1 at a time. So the key with that is make the dollars, hear me, make the dollars count. So when you bring down your debt, make the dollars count. Have a plan to take a certain percentage of that money and set it aside. So I'm going back to taxes. You're getting money. More than likely, you're getting a refund.
Not me, but that's a whole other. It's okay.
That's
Don't feel
Don't feel sorry for
don't feel
her.
sorry.
I'm her accountant. Don't feel sorry for her.
But that's sometimes we don't talk about when you make more money.
There's more, right? That's a good point.
That's a good point.
So a lot of people want to make money, but they don't want to. They don't want to do some stuff once they make the money. So this is the deal. The same thing for me. So I'm a Christian, so I tithe. So somebody said, I said, I want to be $1 million tither. And so they looked at me like I was crazy. I said, do you know how much money I have to make to be $1 million tither? That's crazy. So anyway, I love it. But my point is, the more money you make, there's two things that happen to that. The more responsibility that you have for making sure that the money's doing what you desire it to do. Remember, money doesn't have a mind. It's your mind for the money.
So I think we sometimes give money more power than it actually has.
That's good.
Because I think it's the people behind it.
It is the people behind it.
Yeah.
But we think, oh, that's, somebody else, or that's whatever. No, it's your money. When you go into a store, you get a chance to choose. And just because it has a sale sign on it.
So, okay, let's just do a little bit of math, because I went into Wawa and I wanted one thing, and one thing was $3, or two things was $5, but I only wanted one. So I only bought one because I didn't want to. I only wanted one, because they normally look at me like, but it's cheaper to get two. Not if I only want one.
I love that. But that's the way we do in the store too, right? And then you end up with this gathering on top. But what they just did is they upsold you by $2. That's what happened. They got two more of your dollars. So this is what I would recommend that you do. You wanna become wealthier? When you go in and you make a decision to say, like that, take the other $2, or take part of the money and put it away from you. That's how you save it. If it's still available to you, if it's really easy for you to get to, it's easier to tap into. I make money that I'm saving, I make it inconvenient to get to.
Yes. Where it's not attached to a card, or it's not like yes. And I also wanted to say, so that's why I move. I only keep my checking account at a certain amount, because once it gets over that amount, I feel like I can do whatever. I was like, ooh, I was like, no, I need to put a portion of this aside. So right now, student loans have been on hold. And student loan debt is a type of debt that is very difficult to get rid of. We might do one on maybe, should I file for bankruptcy? Do you want to talk about bankruptcy?
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm dealing with 2 clients right now that's in the midst of that.
And so we will do next episode. I believe we will talk about some of because I think there's some emotions and psychology that comes into that as well. And then how do you recover after bankruptcy?
Because there's shame involved in that. And so many cases, there's, I don't want to walk. There's a lot of dynamics connected to that.
When lots of businesses use bankruptcy.
Well, we'll talk about that, because we're pivoting, because we know too much in our head. So this is the deal. The wonderful thing about this is this. Listen to what she said. When you get an opportunity to only pay principal, hear me, to only pay principal on a debt, a loan, or whatever, take the opportunity. And when I say that, you may have a credit card, and you can go back in and you can call your credit card company and tell them, especially like when the pandemic and all this stuff was happening, say, look,
I ain't got it.
I ain't got it. And I need you to take me down to zero interest. Hear me. Take me down to zero interest. I'm going to make payments, but I need you to take me down to zero interest. Because every time I look at the, and you can tell them this if they started murmuring, and then tell the person you're talking, we can't do that. I said, I'm sorry. Who do you work for? I said, I need to talk to somebody above you. I need to talk to somebody. I need to talk to the next decision maker, is what I say. I need to talk to the next decision maker because I know it's possible that you can bring me down to a zero credit. I mean, zero interest rate for whether it be 6 months, a year, whatever, right? And if you have the money, listen to me. If even if you have money in the bank, okay, I'm buying some appliances. I don't think we've talked about this amazing trip I've been on. I bought them in November, y'all.
Still don't have them.
I still don't have my appliances. Now we gonna not gonna talk about it because then it could be whatever. So anyway, but let me tell you what I'm doing. I've been paying for it because I get 24 months no interest.
Yeah.
But now if you don't pay it off in 24 months, guess what happens?
They compound it, right?
They compound it, and it just, I'm telling you, it's ugly. So you need to make sure you pay it off in 20 months so there's no confusion, number one. Number two is you can make smaller monthly payments, and then put the other, let's say you want to pay $400. You are able to pay $400 a month and pay it off in 10 months or whatever. Put 300 in your savings account away from you.
Or if you have another outstanding, because you're coming from the mindset that everything else is paid off. So
Well,
if
yeah,
you,
that's my, okay, yeah.
So so if you, so then maybe take, if this one is at 0%, maybe taking the excess money and paying down some other things that have a higher interest rate. But
yeah, but there's two sides. It's what Patrice was just saying. You still need to make sure you have all the money in account to pay it off when the time comes. Now, but the other thing you can do, because I like points, I like points. So you can pay down your regular credit card, like she was talking about, pay off your regular credit card. So now you have the available interest on that, right? So actually, at the end of the 20th month, you could go in and use your credit card to pay off that debt. Don't make this a habit. Pay off that debt, but you just need to be careful because remember, you just paid it off.
Yeah.
And remember, that's got a higher interest rate. So just be careful. So my plan is to have the money in the bank. And then when it comes time, I can just pay it off. But I kept my money in the bank.
And I like, so Robert said the more money that he's gotten, the more frugal he's gotten.
That is not the norm.
But I do think that sometimes, so people with money don't walk around like they have money. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Especially old money. Now, some of the new money people, because, I teach money. So some of the new money people are flaunting it, right? But the people that have old money, listen to me. I love going to thrift store, consignment shops, all of that. I meet the best people up in there. We talking about people that got rocks on. I mean, just like, boom. And so I get in conversations, and she said, "Oh, hi," and we laugh and talk and da da da.
They normally point out some of your jewelry or something.
Because I like what I like. Anyway, so, but this is the deal. They said, so one lady asked me, she said, "Why are you in here?" I said, "This is the place I love to come." And so she said, And I said, "Why are you in here?" Because you opened the door for the question. She said, "Because I don't need anything. I come in here to augment what I have." Number one. Number two is I know what quality is. So it doesn't matter where I go. I know what quality is. So me buying an LV bag that somebody else paid $1,200 for $400. You see what I'm saying? It's not that the lady don't have the money. The issue is she's coming in looking for what she desires because she don't need anything. Need to reclassify what your needs are versus what your wants are, and then do that. But my point for saying that is not just to go out and spend money to build wealth. Old money doesn't flaunt it. But if you know quality, you look at their shoes and say, "Ooh, those are Kohl's. Those are Cole Haan." And I don't, it is what it is. You like what you like. I don't know what it took for you to get there. So this is the key. Don't let anybody else determine what you should and should wear, should and should not wear, how you should or should not shop. Because remember, the money is not making the decision. You're making the decision. It's your mindset. And then lastly, I'll say this. Well, sort of lastly, not really. But but this is what I'll say. when a person has been brought up, um, and there was lack, because like I mentioned before, I was homeless at a point in my life, right? So my bank account, this is true, Patrice tell you, my bank account has to have a certain amount of money in it, and she picked up that habit. So
For me to feel comfortable.
for me, just I mean, I'm single, y'all. You know what I'm saying? So, well, it's not just because I'm single. It's really because I just like that number. So when I have that number, I shift the money out like she does, right? So because that's where I'm at. But this is the deal. What is your number? What is the number that makes you feel more comfortable when it's in your bank account, your savings account? Do you have an emergency fund? If something happens, do you have a way that you can continue to move forward? If they start saying today that, do you have a stockpile? You know, when I say that, I'm saying look at the dates and stuff. Don't just keep stuff. So there were some things that were happening, and so my genius son-in-law mentioned you might want to have some food on the back plan. You know, I normally do not do canned goods. I don't like canned goods. So I said, well, do the organic. You know, so I went and got some organic stuff so that I could maintain if there was a need. So now I'm at the point in some cases that some of the dates are running, that they're getting close. So check out what I'm going to do. Giving to others tricks does
Yes.
something to your mindset to let you know that there's excess. So I'm taking those items because I bought what I bought. And so I'm taking those items and I'm giving them to a food bank because the because I'm not going to use it within that time frame, right? So I'm going to share my excess and give it to someone else. Now somebody may be saying I ain't got no excess. Yes, you do. Even if you only take one can. And so the other thing I mentioned before is the way you stop saying that you're broke is you put a dollar, if that's all you can afford right now, put a real dollar in your wallet and don't spend it. Don't spend it. And then when you can afford to do 5, 10, up to 100, remember $100 bill is the largest bill you can buy now. I mean, you can have now. So people that are walking around with, talking other stuff is not true. $100 bill is the largest bill that they at the mint right now. So consider that. So if the 100, put 100, but put it somewhere where you know you have the money. You cannot think that you don't have the more money because being broke and poor is not the same. Being broke is a pocket set. That means there's not money currently in your pocket or available to you in some way, right? Being poor is a mindset. That is from the perspective of lack. So there's a difference. So just and how do you get beyond that, Johnny? Is a question I hear in the room. How do I get beyond that? So how do I get beyond it? Is I study not the bling. I study money. I study what money, and then the other thing is I find my purpose.
And then also, and I like that you said purpose there because also I love that people are shifting away from commercialism and people are shifting to sustainable things. So I've mentioned it within my neighborhood, we have a buy nothing group where people post, hey, I'm getting rid of this, I'm getting rid of that. Does anybody want it? Before I donate it, before I, throw it in the trash, and people also post their needs. People say, I'm looking for toddler pants that are 3T, and if somebody's giving them away, they will say, hey, this is what I have. And so I think also what can happen is that, especially if there was a time when I didn't have enough, I can hold on to everything, but then that also means I can't get anything in either. So right now, for people listening, my fists are closed. And so that's why, even if there's something, and I do this with our son at least twice a year, around his birthday, because he is the only grandchild from my mom and my husband's parents, and then my dad, no matter how many grandkids he has, he's going to spoil each and every one of them
Yes, yes.
abundantly. And so I always know we're about to get a whole bunch of stuff around his birthday. So that's a purge time where I go through his stuff, and he's getting to the age now where I'm going to go through it with him and be like, okay, so what can go? We just did your wish list for your birthday. What things can we, are you not really playing with anymore? What things can we give to somebody else? Same thing with clothes. There are clothes that he can't fit. There are a few things that are sentimental. So he has a Virginia Tech football. He has a Virginia Tech jersey. I have a ton of pictures in it. I am going to keep that. But every little shirt he has, every piece of pants. I do end up getting rid of some things, because sometimes it can be an emotional process to let go of things. But I do think that keeps you from, first of all, being able to organize and see what you even have. Because if I have a bunch of clutter, if I have a bunch of things everywhere, and there is an account on TikTok, Robert on the Reel, where the entire account, and Robert Blackman is on here, but the other account is Robert on the Reel, where the entire account is dedicated to organizing things. And I do think letting go of things is incredibly important. And it can, but don't get rid of everything. So, like, because I
Yeah.
think sometimes we have to make this a little bit longer, because I think sometimes people say, I want to have faith. So I want to have faith that so I'm gonna get rid of all my stuff, and then have faith that God's gonna give it to me. And we have to be careful with those things. Like, if I'm not because you could get rid of all your stuff and then not have anything. And so that's where I like the faith that heals, and there's a faith that kind of hurts. Go on ahead. I'm sorry, I threw that out there.
Yeah, she threw that out there and it's so real. Okay, so there's a couple things. One is I'm gonna do a ROI. This is a place to get a return on your investment, right? Most times when a person is searching and they're looking for things about money and the money mindset, you're looking for a return on your investment. So I'm going to give you an acronym that is ROI. It's release, organize, and intensify your intention. Release, organize, and intensify your intention. The releasing is to trigger your brain to say, I have more than enough. I have excess.
I like that, because that's true. When I hold on to it, I'm thinking, I even though I have 20 knives, even though I have 20 spoons, holding on to each and everything, when I the act of releasing it, it that is an act of abundance. I
Right.
like that.
Organize is management. What? Johnny, stop. Management. Management of the things that you possess. When you manage them, then you are proving to yourself and the atmosphere that you are a good manager. Because now you know what you have, so you're not duplicating a lot of things. So
Yes.
now you can work with your money, because right, every dollar count. So, and intensify your intention. If your intention is to give to others, if your intention is to grow wealth for a purpose, whatever it is, you can intensify, put a magnifying glass on that intention and build from there. Now, Patrice was talking about something, and I want to step back. Everybody has something to give. You have books, you have something, right? You have time. One of the things that I have done to help me understand and remind myself that how grateful I am for right now where I'm at is I go and I give my time to homeless shelter, feeding the homeless or something like that through an organization that has set it up. And when I see that, because see, sometimes our impression of people
Yeah.
that are not at the same level that we may be at this point in our lives is something that we look because we think they're different than us. They're not. I have been to a homeless shelter, and the guy in this one case, he was so. I mean, I'm saying you're a genius. What world? Why? And I'm thinking in my head, why are you here? It's not about why he's here. It's about me caring for him while I'm there. So intensify my intention, not in a judgment perspective, because I have no space to judge. That is not my job to judge you or to judge anyone else. I need to focus intensifying my intentions on me. Remember, we talked about self awareness, self control. It's about me intensifying my intentions. It's not about me fighting you. And then the thing I'll say about money is this: money does exactly what you tell it to do. When you say money, because they used to have this thing in church, because I didn't miss the fact you did the church thing. They used to have this person that said, "Money cometh to me now." The issue with that is, and people were doing stuff and money cometh to me now, and that was the, and I'm not saying you can't call money forth. I'm not saying that. However, it's like faith without works is dead being alone. Your faith without any action on your part.
And so an opportunity came up recently, and if the opportunity comes through for me, it's gonna there are gonna be some changes in my life. But what happened was a door potentially opened, and my goal is always, hey, if this looks like it might be the right fit, I just want to explore it. I just want to see what'll happen. But if I don't apply for the job, if I don't put myself out there, if I don't do those things. And so that's why I think it's important for people to write their story, especially if you're creating content on social media and you have a community, because sometimes people say I don't want to take from that community, and my thing is I give my community opportunities to connect, to support. I provide valuable resources. And because just last week somebody on TikTok was like, I'd like to give to you. How can I do that? And I immediately went to my link tree. I set up my PayPal account, and I was like, if you I was like, honestly, the biggest things you can do to support me is buy my book, subscribe to my YouTube, and follow me over on Instagram. But if you would like to give, here it is. And that was the first person, because I got a payment notification that the person donated to me. And I was extremely grateful for that. And so I think sometimes we limit because we won't
Mm.
even put it out there. Like we won't even set up the opportunity for people to support you.
So is that okay? I'm not gonna talk about this situation. When we won't set ourselves up for what we're believing and asking for, is it coming from a place of
Mhm.
fear? Is it coming from a place of fear? You know, like self-confidence kind of fear? Like I've been through this and somebody else told me what I wasn't kind of fear? Is like I'm not worthy kind of fear? Is that what it is? And if it is, because all of us have issues.
Yeah.
Okay, right? All of us have all of us.
Right.
And if somebody says they don't, that's their issue. Okay, I'm just saying. Okay, I thought I'd throw that in. But this is the deal. So face it. When you give people an opportunity to give to you, to give things to you, because I give stuff to Patrice all the time, and it used to hurt my feelings at
Oh.
first. It hurt my feelings when she didn't take it. Like she
Oh.
said, I don't want that. Be
I,
like,
I
what? But
in my mind it wouldn't come out like that, but it probably did. In my mind it did not come out that way.
okay, so in her mind, remember we talking about mind on your money. So in your mind, what is your money saying to you? So okay, so you're asking for something new, and somebody says they want to give you something. This is the deal. When people give me something, and this is what she did too. Well, sometimes this is so what she accepted what she could use.
Yeah.
Hear me. Accept what you can use, what you can benefit from. And if they just give it to you, take it. Don't start going through the bag and saying, "Oh, I want this, I don't want that." Then you sew it up. You sew it to the next person. You give it away to someone else, because giving is a place of gratitude, and giving away from yourself is a seed. Listen to me, seed that you're sowing into life, into your benefits that you expect to grow up. I've given away stuff. I mean, expensive stuff, because if I don't need it, I don't care what it costs.
Yeah.
That's not the issue. If I offer it to her first. If she says no, I say, okay, I find somebody else to give it to, or I give it, now I have a couple thrift stores, but because of the way they give, I'm giving more to them because they help the community. So find something that lines up with your belief system. And when I say that, I'm not talking about your faith system. I'm talking about whatever you desire to support. I support things that are connected to women, needs, community needs, that kind of thing. So that's what I support.
if we could talk about this all day. And so please be sure to join us over on Clubhouse Saturdays at 2 p.m. And we will continue this conversation,
The-
and then also just connect with us, subscribe to her YouTube, check me out on YouTube, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.